Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Dr. Janice Fortman with Relationship Matters. I hope everyone is having a beautiful, blessed morning, afternoon, or evening. I'm having a good day. However, some of you know I like to work out just to try and keep my body just from falling apart. But the other day when I was working out, let's talk about our relationship with our bodies. So my trainer, who has you know no sympathy for me, and I tell him all the time, I'm a senior citizen, go easy on me, but he doesn't. But anyway, I'm doing this exercise on this bench. I had my knee on the bench, one knee on the exercise bench, one foot on the floor. And I had a pillow up under my knee. And so he says, well, okay, I want you all to go, from side to side, holding your hands like this. Well, what happened? I went over to my right, pillow slipped out from under me. I fell on the floor. Now, did I get are you okay? I did get a okay. Okay, can you get up? And I'm like, yeah, I could get up. And it didn't hurt, and I was fine. And I finished my routine and everything. The next day, OMG, you talk about hurting. It was like my lower back and over to the right. OMG. So for the last, maybe this happened Friday. For the last few days, I have been existing on heating pads and ibuprofen. So I'm saying this just in case he's listening or watching, so he can take pity on me. I feel much better now. Pain is gone and everything. I just took it easy. But just in case he's watching, I just want him to know, even though they say no pain, no gain, I just want him to maybe take it easy on me, the next time I see him. And that's it. So that's my little relationship with my body. Because, we talk about all kinds of relationships here because there are all kinds of relationship matters. So let's start with what we're talking about today. And, I had so much buzz about this. So let me say this. Let me ask this question. Are you in a relationship with someone that you see often, but you feel so disconnected with them? We have Dr. April Brown here with us. She is going to help us bring back the intimacy in our relationships. So let me just tell you a little bit more about her. She's a licensed mental health Christian counselor, a certified school counselor, board certified telemental health counselor, national certified counselor, a qualified clinical supervisor, a doctor. She has a doctoral degree in counseling psychology. She has a specialist degree in counseling and human systems. And she lives in Florida, where I'm sure it's really nice and warm there right now. And when I grow up, I want to be just like her. But I'm going to bring her on. Dr. April Brown.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes. And really, I want to be like you. I saw the intro, and I was like, wow.
And we do those in-house. I have a team. So if you're interested in a promo, just let me know.
Yes.
Shameless plug for my
Yes,
team.
yes. But I'm just saying, you look wonderful. You look fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So we're going to get right into this. But first, tell me just a little bit more. I gave them a little snippet about you, but
Okay.
tell us a little bit more about you.
Okay, all right. I'm also a certified sex therapist, which, yes, which I was like, for me, getting that degree and that certification was something that I was inspired by my Heavenly Father and my people in my life. Yes. And so when I talk about or work with couples that are feeling disconnected, I really focus on intimacy, which is more than just sex. Sex is one part, but intimacy is a whole lot. So I provide counseling service for that, but I also provide the experience. So I do couples retreats on helping people connect intimately. And I also have some books out there on Amazon on improving intimacy. So I'm
Okay.
just ready to get started with this.
So tell me, why did you decide to get into this field? I know it came from on high, but why do you think you decided to do this?
Okay, honestly, this was not my first field. I was actually an accountant and I'm very good with numbers. Yes. And I was working my butt off. But then how can I say I was doing good, but there's an inner spirit. And when I also talk about intimacy, I'm going to talk also about that spiritual intimacy. And that said, April, hey, quit what you're doing. You got to take some time off, raise a kid, which I did, and that aspect. And he wanted me to focus on something different, something that took me out of my comfort zone. And I was like, I don't know, because I'm really shy. I'm not sometimes a people person. But yeah, I went back to school and started this field of mental health, which has been amazing. And anxiety is what I really first started focus on. And that later on led to, anxiety in relationships and all this right here. So I feel like it's my mission to help people connect. And in helping them connect, it does help them in their mental health and then hopefully help them for, long term.
Okay. So, first question. So we're going to talk about really focusing on couples,
Yes.
because that's what I got all these questions from.
Yes.
So, what causes lack of intimacy in a relationship? What are some of the causes?
Some of the causes, especially now with this major pandemic and things that have been going on, people get overworked, tired, frustrated. And so when you don't know how to deal with your stress, you sometimes take it out on the people you love, which is a sad thing to do because in reality, we're all in business doing a variety of different things. But the best customer service we should show with our partner. So that's one thing. The second thing is not even having enough time to connect because we're busy, 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 or where body is there, but our mind is somewhere else,
It's
and so
all
we're,
like that.
yes, and
My
that
body's here
causes,
with me, but what is it? My mind is on the other side of town. Yeah,
yes, yes, when we're
right.
not in the same spot. So that causes a lack of intimacy. Of course, sometimes age, you've been around a partner for a long time, or it could be just something going on internally with you. Um, for some of us who have gone through menopause and a variety of other stuff, that has caused it. Or eating too much junk food, sugar, has
Really?
some effects on body parts and all that kind of stuff. So that can cause also just maybe the lack of the desire of your partner for a variety of reasons. Or sometimes, third parties come in, or a third party that most people don't think about that really does affect intimacy is alcohol.
Okay, okay. So now so you're saying intimacy, but one of the questions I got, what's the difference in sex? Sexual, I guess. Well, some people say sexual intimacy, but some people equate sex with intimacy. What's the difference?
Okay. So sexual intimacy is just one part of intimacy, guys. Intimacy is that connection you have with your partner, where you and your partner are in the same time zone. They're together. You feel connected. It's intimate. You see, you can feel their presence. Of course, you can have sex without intimacy, doing, one night stands and a variety of other sexual things that can happen. But a true sexual, intimate experience is when you and your partner are really connecting. Your bodies are moving together. You feel that connection. That connection includes, because I said it's one part, the emotional part, that you guys are there for each other emotionally, have each other's back. There's the communication. You guys are on the same level of communication. You're talking, you're connecting, you're saying what's good, what's feeling this. You're actually maybe sometimes even flirting, it's of the whole aspect. Also, for some people, they may not think about it, but even bringing yourself in as self intimacy. And that means when you bring self intimacy and you're having intimacy with your partner, you are actually feeling and knowing what feels good. You're actually communicating to your partner, hey, this feels good. I really like this. You are aware of your body sensation. And of course, even sometimes people bring in the inner spirit, what some people call higher power, God, or whatever. That's also great because I believe the higher power actually created sexual intimacy. So it is that connection. It is that partner, one-on-one connection with your partner, which is fabulous, and it's one of the highest level of connection that you can have with your partner.
Okay. So now you said earlier when I asked you about the different causes, um, and you said age. So now I'm wondering about that because now I'm talking about intimacy and
Right,
and not sex.
right.
But sometimes you see couples that they could be in their 80s and you can see that that the intimacy between them. So when you say age, what are you talking about actually?
Okay, it can be sexual, but it can also be non-sexual. Okay. In the sense of the sexual part, it could be a problem of them trying to connect, but they get frustrated because maybe someone cannot perform as well as they used to, or a variety of different things, or something doesn't work out. That's one part. But when we also talk about intimacy, I'm going to go away from sexual intimacy in the sense of activities or different things. Sometimes people disconnect because their activities change. Or what I see a lot, because I'm in here in sunny Florida, okay, is that people come down here to retire, okay, a lot of times. And sometimes you may have one partner that wants to do 50 million things. I want to go hiking, I want to go boating, I want to golf, I want to go to the country club, while the other partner doesn't want to do a damn thing. Like, I don't want to see any more people. I've been working all this time. I don't want to do nothing, And so there becomes a disconnect of kind of, like back when they were much younger. But anyway, of them not doing the same activities, which is okay. I'm not saying you have to do every activity together because you don't. But you do have to find some things that you connect with. So that's one part of how the intimacy can disconnect somewhat. Another part is, of course, just basic love languages changes over time, you know?
Well, let's talk about love languages.
Yes.
So I I read a book a long time ago about the
Yes.
love languages. And so tell us about the different love languages and how that, I guess, the difference in the love languages can affect intimacy.
Okay. So the love languages, there are five love language by Dr. DeGary Chapman. And the five love languages are, first is touch. Some people feel love when they're touched. And that doesn't necessarily mean sexual touch, it could just be a hug. Others is words, how you speak, complimenting your partner. A third could be charitable acts, which is washing dishes, helping with the car, doing clothes, running errands. A fourth could be gifts. And then the fifth is quality time. So, of course, your new partner does not have to have the same love language. And if you're listening to me and you're like, well, I don't even know what my love language is, there's plenty of online free tests you can take. What is important is that you understand your partner's love language. That is what's important because many times we give what we think we want versus giving what our partner wants and needs. And so when it comes to love language and how it affects intimacy is let's say your love language is gifts and you just continue to give your partner a gift but you're running around doing 50 million things and you maybe do not spend enough time with your partner and your partner's love language is quality time. And then at the end of the day, you're trying to just quickly spend some time, maybe kiss and hug, maybe even try to have sex. But the time has not been put there, and your partner's kind of like standoffish. That's why. So it's really important to understand your partner's love language, and because that can definitely affect intimacy in that manner.
Okay, all right. So if you have two different kinds of love languages, then I would imagine um, you really, like you said, you need to know what your partner's love language is.
Right.
But okay, but now let's say your love language is different from your partner's, and let's say, but your partner doesn't feel comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let me give an example. Let's say the woman's love, which is usually the woman's love language might be gifts. You know,
Okay.
she loves gifts. The man's love language might be, well, I'm going to help you around the house. You know what I mean? Because that's what maybe he knows or what he's seen or what he
Right.
feels, and maybe he doesn't feel like he can get her gifts that she loves or something like that. So when it's two different ones, and let's say, and I just use that, but two different ones, and but neither feels comfortable. You know what I'm saying? You know, what do you do?
One good thing is you got to talk about it.
Okay.
That's really, really important. And let's say you feel like can't even talk about it in some aspect, have them take one of those free online tests. Let
Okay.
it lay it out. I mean, that's a good table talk conversation to talk about. This is how I feel love. And when you're having a conversation with your partner about something, let's say that you may not like, instead of saying, I don't want you to give me this, that, let's not do it that way. Let's learn how to sandwich things, okay? And what you mean sandwiches, put some bread there. If you have a nickname, I don't know, babe, you're sitting beside him, babe. If he has some hair, you curl his hair or, you know, touch his leg or whatever. And say, honey, I really, really like when you say such and such to me. Or when you touch this, that just really just gets me so excited. They're going to remember those kind of things when you say it that way. Yes.
One thing you didn't mention when you talked about the causes of lack of intimacy are like medical conditions.
Right. 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 So medical conditions can really impact. That's why it's really good, number one, to have self intimacy, to know your body. Okay. For sometimes for women, um, a certain age or any kind of age, we can sometimes have hormones that impact how our body feels, how our body gets aroused, how we're able to lubricate or not lubricate. So it's really good to understand and not to be ashamed of it. I know when I went through menopause, my body started to change. And so, yeah, I had to get on a hormone pill. Fine. Okay. For men, sometimes medical issues can be whether it's sugar, diabetes, other things that can really, and you also have to be careful, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a mental health counselor. So, of course, I see a lot of people with sometimes mental health issues. And sometimes when you're taking these mental health medications and other medications, they sometimes can have an impact on your sex life. You
Mm-hmm.
have to really like look and look at the see if it's impacting, because sometimes a lot of stimulants do, and talk to your doctor about it in the sense of that. But if it is a medical condition, there's a lot of different avenues of learning how to work within that, or take another medication, or also sometimes we get things in our mind and we get stuck. And
That's
as we get,
yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, as we get older, or sometimes just different things happen, we have, and I'm going to talk on the man's side, we have what we call performance anxiety. Like, oh my gosh, it's not going to work. Oh my gosh, this is not going to feel right. Oh my gosh, this and that. Or we become like little coaches to ourselves in bed. Yeah. I work with people on teaching them how to be mindful, to be truly, truly present, because that's really the only way you can truly get aroused.
I was going to say that a lot of it might have something to do with what's up here.
Yes.
Whatever's in the mind as far as intimacy is concerned. It might not be a physical thing. It can be a mental thing, or even a psychological thing.
Yes, yes, because the mind and the heart and your private parts are connected.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So, do you see a difference in intimacy as far as married couples and unmarried couples are concerned? Do you see a difference in that?
Yes, and let me say happy married couples versus unhappy married couples. There's a difference in that right there, because when people are happily married, they feel secure, and they feel they can be vulnerable to one another. So that intimacy, as I talked earlier about being in the same spot, is really, really important. And that's also the difference between a couple that's not married or a couple that maybe just got started, because sometimes that trust isn't there, that foundation,
Hmm.
and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if they're going to leave, or what if I say this, what if I do this, you know what I'm saying? There's all that judgment. When a couple is not doing well, it is usually, you can usually see it in the bedroom in a variety of different aspects.
Like,
Like whether they're not having sex, or they're having sex but they're not really connecting, or they're faking orgasms, or
women. I don't
women,
know.
yes.
Can men? Can I don't know about men? Can
Men can
they
if
they
they can,
faking orgasms?
but sometimes they don't get aroused.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, but they
Yes,
can't
or
fake
porn. Yeah, or porn, a lot of porn happens. So yeah.
Okay, all right, okay. Well, I know women can fake orgasms, but
Yes,
but men,
they
I
can.
can see that they can't, because
Right.
right.
Right. They just try not to have sex. So yes, yeah. So they just like,
Oh,
no, I'm not, I'm too tired, I'm this, I'm that.
so is there a difference in what men think intimacy is and what women think? And I'm not talking about sex.
Hmm.
I'm talking about intimacy, because
Right.
to me it's two different. And I know to you what
Right.
he's talking about. It's two different things,
Right.
right? So you know what do men think about it in your practices and stuff? What do you hear? What do you see as far as men are concerned, and then women are concerned?
So sometimes I hear from men that, I think I'm doing everything. I said nice things to her. I bought her flowers. I bought dinner. I just don't understand what's going on. But there's a part that women, we are emotional creatures. And if we don't sometimes feel, not all women, but most of us, if we don't feel emotionally connected, it's just not there for us. And explaining that to a guy, and I explained to guys, I said, how you see those tits and butts as sexy? Your woman sees emotions. Yeah, as sexy. And they're like, what do you mean emotions? And I'm saying, yeah, they want to know how you're actually feeling. What's going on in your life? It's not just about, I bought her flowers, you look nice today, and let's go to the bedroom. Yes. Yeah. That's, yeah. I know you're laughing at some sort. I mean, have you seen some or heard some of this before?
Sure.
Yeah.
Women talk. I don't know if men talk, but women talk.
Yes.
And yeah, like you said, we are emotional creatures.
Yes.
And so that's why I asked that question, because a lot of women will say, well, um, I know one couple that I know. He works, and he couldn't understand why his wife wanted a divorce, because he worked all these hours. He bought her this big, beautiful home, and gave
Eat
her
her
all
dinner.
of these things, so to
Right.
speak. But he
Right.
was never there,
Right.
and so he couldn't understand why I've given her everything, but she didn't want any of that.
Right.
you know and so being friends with both of them, you know and I said, well, you didn't give her what she wanted.
Right. And he may say, I was there. I was physically there. But
Right,
he was physically there.
right,
But that part of being mindfulness, of being there, body, mind, spirit, and soul, that's where it was missing.
right. So, Dr. April, I gotta take a few commercials, and then we're gonna be right back, because I got a whole bunch of questions, more questions.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay.
So we shall be right back.
Okay.
Hi, we are back with Dr. April Brown. So now some more questions came in while I was gone, while we were gone. So, can a marriage survive without intimacy?
As I said earlier, intimacy requires a variety of different things, and it's more than just sex. So I'm going to say yes, a marriage can survive without sexual intimacy in the traditional format of sex. Can a marriage survive without intimacy, where there's no communication, there's no emotional connection, there's no physical hugs or doing activities together? It's not a marriage. It's a roommate or even less than a roommate. Yes. So I would say no for intimacy, but if you're just talking about traditional sexual intimacy, yes.
Okay, right. So that's when you have to separate sex and intimacy,
Right.
right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Okay. So a
Yes, yes.
question came in here. It says men and women have different life experiences growing up, which may affect communication between them. One may be touchy feely and the other may not. What do you tell them?
What do I tell them? So it's really important to find the time to communicate, because communication is a form of intimacy. It's one of the top forms of intimacy. So finding time to communicate, and when you communicate on a regular basis, it's learning how to say I, such and such, but also it's really important to learn your partner's language. Okay, so let's say you're married to I think that I know the best is an accountant. Okay. And maybe an accountant, your accountant isn't one who's very emotional and stuff. If you explain things in the sense of asset and debits and credits, you know, or this is in the red, we've been doing so much, but this right here is in the red. It's, we're needing to fill this up. They may understand it better than just saying, oh my gosh, I'm so sad and crying and all that. Learning how to speak your partner's language is critical. Number two is being able to make sure you're talking to your partner when you're not flooded. Okay. I don't know if you know what the terminology flooded means. Flooded means when you're talking with someone and you start to get so upset, the emotion comes up to your the head and either shit just flies out of your mouth
Okay.
or you just shut down and you don't say anything. You have
Okay.
to learn when you start to get upset, how it feels in your body, how that heart race. Because when you start to get upset, it's really, really important if you're in a loving relationship, is learning how to take time out to calm yourself down. Because it's your responsibility to calm yourself down, not your partner's. And when two people come together and they're calm, they're able to see things. So, and the third suggestion that I have is if your partner is, how can I put it, more emotional and you're trying to understand what's going on, sometimes it's good to use a little touch. It's also good to look the person in the eye. It's also good if sometimes if you can't figure out what to even say, I'm trying to understand it all. Let me take some notes so I can, because some people have to a visual. They kind of need to write things down to hear what's going on. So
Okay. Oh, okay. So, do you bring a spiritual aspect into connecting with intimacy? Is there a spiritual aspect to this?
yes, yes, yes. So with intimacy, and I use this general word, but there is the self intimacy, there's that spiritual intimacy.
Okay, because I'll forget.
Yeah.
So, self intimacy. What is that?
Self intimacy is being connected with your body and you, knowing your purpose, knowing why you're on this earth. Of course, for some of us, We have to go higher and include that spiritual intimacy, which I see as an inner spirit. I call it God. Other people may call it other things, but that helps directs you, that helps gives you insight. Okay, that inner spirit, it's not going to put you down. It's not going to say negative things to you. No, it's going to uplift you and help guide you. And when you're able to hear that and have also the self intimacy, that self intimacy means I know what feels good. I know what doesn't feel good. I also don't say anything negative to myself at all, you know, and I'm good to my body, and like you were saying earlier about working out, I work out, I take care of my body. Yeah, as the same way as you would take care of your partner, your kids, and all that other aspects. So that is really important. Do I bring spiritual intimacy in when I'm working with a couple? If a couple puts it, I have tons of paperwork you have to do. If they put that that's important to them, I will bring it in. If it's not something that is important to you or you have no connection, that's fine. I won't bring it in. But we're all connected somehow spiritually.
Very
So,
true.
yes.
Very true. So when you work with couples, I saw something. It said something about the Gottman method.
Yes.
What is that?
So, Gottman's, there's a couple that have been doing relationships since I think the early 60s. Okay. So they have over 2 million in the sense of research of how couples connect and disconnect. And they provide a wonderful assessment that clinicians can utilize. So if you have a Gottman certified therapist, there's probably, I don't know, maybe 10,000 certified therapists in the world. There's a lot of us. Yeah, that utilizes their assessment and the variety of different ways that we work, because we look at relationships as communication, emotional. Of course, there's passion. There's also friendship base. You know, they look at it as a house basically, and we talk about how each part of the house works and how we get a couple to be strong in their house. The assessment that the Gottman provide and that counselors is a very excellent tool. Sometimes when we give it to people, you may see that, wow, we're not as compatible. And that's okay.
Okay.
And that's okay. When you go for couples counseling, marriage counseling, whatever, our purpose is to bring insight. You are the expert, in the relationship. We bring insight. When you see that insight, you have a choice to make on whether you want to stay in something, whether you want to work toward change, whether you want to leave something. Of course, you cannot change another person. You can only work on you.
Right. So when they come into your now you have something like a retreat that I read about. Is this the same when you talk about the counseling? Is that the same thing or is that two different
Oh,
things?
it's part of the same thing, but I do retreats. Okay. So retreats are taking the counseling that I do, but putting in it in a very intense, like we do 16 hours of therapy plus having fun, whether we do zip lining, where I'm going to Costa Rica or waterfalls in Jamaica. Yes, yes. And it's not only just me, it's me and another therapist.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So when we do a retreat, it's always another therapist or two, but we do creative things because intimacy. See, as I talked before about communication and all this, there's a thing called activity intimacy, which is doing activities together, doing service together. When you put a couple and you have them out in the nature and they're working together, do you know what kind of bond that is? That's,
I
yeah.
don't know because I'm not out in the wilderness. I don't like bugs and bees and insects. But go ahead.
Yes, yes, yes. But you understand. I saw your beautiful
I know.
family. Yes,
I
yes,
know.
yeah. Yeah. You guys do a lot of wonderful activities. But yes. Yeah. So that's what I call it vacation counseling. And I call it vacation because besides the intense counseling that you will get, we're going to also make sure you have a vacation. So for all those guys out there saying, "Oh, I don't want to go to counseling and have to talk about my problems." Ugh. Okay. We're going to do it differently. You will talk. We will play. I mean, I've gotten out the Legos and a guy's been like, "Oh my gosh, I haven't played Legos in so long." And then next thing you know, he's crying about his childhood or whatever. We make through a big through. But we're going to have, fun activity. Whether we play basketball or whatever. Yeah. We're going to work within what you bring.
Okay, so that's why you call it vacation counseling.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds actually really great, and it's probably a good way to really, get men to open up.
Yes, exactly.
Women, we don't have a problem.
Right. Right.
We no, we don't have a problem.
Right. Right.
But I
Right.
know men a lot of times have difficulty in expressing real intimate feelings.
Right.
So that sounds great. So a question came in here. It says, "What has been your most difficult situation you've had to help with a couple?"
Well, one of my most difficult situation, and I see it sometime, and I just talked a little bit about it. Here in Florida, it's such a wonderful environment, but there's sometimes people drink, and they drink a little too much. Okay, and I know drinking is a very touchy subject, and let me put it this way, people: if you're frustrated or happy or whatever the case may be, and you continue to go to the bottle, you know, whether you're happy all the time, mad all the time, sad, you take a drink and you continue to do that all the time. Okay. What happens is that becomes like a third party, that becomes like an affair because you're going to that instead of your partner. But you're like, wait a minute, April. Wait a minute, April. In the beginning, my partner and I drank. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was a good threesome in the beginning. Yes. Yeah. But at some point, someone may have stopped or became where the alcohol really got into one of you and you just really start not to like the other person.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And then this other part of you comes out that can be aggressive sometimes or hurtful. And the one thing you just don't want to do is continue that pattern because, as we all know, that can be passed on for generations in the
Yeah.
sense of changing genetics. So, getting people to see how alcohol and drugs can become a third party in a relationship as an affair, it's probably been some of the most challenging. But when I talk about it that way, sometimes people can understand it. And if you have a partner who is struggling with an addiction, and let's say you want to work with them, then we learn how to, as a couple, address this third party together. Because an addiction doesn't just go away, it will come knocking in the middle of the night, like an affair, yeah. And you have to learn what kind of coping skills I can do to not open that door anymore.
So, do you find sometimes with the couples that you work with, that pornography is that third party?
Yes. Yes.
And
Pornography.
does
Yes.
that, and how does that affect relationships?
Well, it affects relationship in the sense of the person who's using the pornography when they're going for sex or trying to go for intimacy. It's not really intimate. They just go through it so fast because pornography is fast. When you're watching porn, it's like, but it also changes the brain in here. Then you expect all this different stuff. That's one aspect. The second aspect, let's say the person has stopped, but they've been caught a few times, a variety of times. This other party, let's say the victim, gets in their head about what their partner was looking at. and they start to feel not good enough. And it becomes a whole big thing. With porn, addiction, or even affair, the person who is not doing it may feel like it's their fault, but it's not. Sometimes people have an affair because they're actually looking for someone, but sometimes people have an affair because they're looking for themselves.
Really?
Exactly. Yes. They're looking for themselves.
Go a little deeper into that.
Okay.
'Cause-
What that means is, godly, my life has been so boring. I've been doing the same old thing. I think this, that, so depressed. I want a little bit of excitement, and a woman, a drink, porn, whatever the case may be, instead of dealing with themselves. They're not really looking to take on this this extra thing, but they're looking for themselves. They've lost themselves. They don't even know. I've known women who are like, all I've been doing is wiping baby's butt. I don't even know myself anymore. Yeah,
So they go out and try to find themselves, so to speak, in whatever, a,
right.
a, a third party. Now, so what about couples that watch porn together? Is
Okay.
Does that help with intimacy?
For some people, it does. Okay, because in intimacy, kind of, I know you know about children. It's also how we learn, so there's some of us who are visual learners, so they see things and they get so excited, and they both get excited and they're ready to go. So for some people, for porn, that's good. Um, if you are watching porn, it is good that your partner knows about it.
Okay. So now we're talking about porn and sex, but porn and intimacy. Isn't that two different
For
things?
some people, see, I do a lot of different relationships. Okay. Yes. For some people, they can truly be connected intimately in using porn.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yes. Some people can truly feel intimately connected when they have, I don't know, another person or two in the bed, because they're, how can I put it? Each couple has a underlining set of rules or guidelines that help them. But this is also based on a people's value system. And if you're just doing this to please someone else, but you don't really feel connected in this, then it's not going to work.
Sometimes it backfires. I'm thinking about movies that I've seen
Right,
where
right,
where the two people decided they were either going to watch porn together or they were going to have a third party,
right.
and then one
It,
of the parties, like, wait a minute, you seem like you're enjoying this over
right,
here a little bit too much. And so what we started out to do, that's not working anymore. So that can really backfire. So I think communication is everything.
right.
And
And knowing yourself and knowing your value system, because it backfires when you settle, or you're like, I'm just going to do this because that's what my partner, but really I'm totally against this. You do not ever want to change your own value system,
yeah,
because that's how you start to lose yourself.
yeah, yeah. Wow, this is really really deep. Uh, I'm just looking to see. I'm going to tell you what's amazing to me, and I
Yes.
think we mentioned this a little bit before we came on. Uh, Usually, in my comments, there are a whole lot of questions and a whole. We talked about this a little earlier before
Yes.
we came on. That so what they're doing, they're sending me stuff, but not coming up, which I can understand.
Yes.
Because if you're asking the question, depending if it's a man or a woman, and then the other partner, well, why did you ask that question? Are we not intimate? Or, I mean, when don't we have intimacy in our relationship? Or are you interested in porn? Is that what
Right.
so it's kind of like tickling me a little bit. you
Can
know but
right.
but but I can understand that. So one last question that I have: when you have your couples retreats, so do you start off with the couple separately, to, I guess, for the assessments and conversations to get them to, I guess, share, so to speak, so that, where they have a feeling of freedom, and then you bring them together, or you start out together,
Okay.
with them together? How does that work?
Okay. In my couples retreat and in my sessions, you both get individual paperwork that goes over the relationship and also goes over a deep sexual history.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yes. And then I meet with you guys together to understand the chemistry, to understand what I'm dealing with. Then I send you an assessment and I meet with each person separately to understand the backstory. And then I bring you guys back together to review over the assessment and to go from there. I would like to give, since we're talking about intimacy and people out there are wanting to know, how can I talk about this with my partner? Here is one quick little way to talk about it. Of course, use this conversation outside of the bedroom. It's really important that it's outside the bedroom. And when you guys have time to talk about it like a meal. You're like, what do you mean like a meal? Okay.
Right.
So when you look at intimacy, and we're going to mostly talking about the whole sexual intimacy, talk about, what is the ambiance that I really like? What's the setting, the lighting, the flowers, the smells? Okay. What is the next part? The appetizer, your foreplay. What do you really like? What turns you on? Then talk about the meal, which is the actual sexual part. And then family, the dessert, which means what do you like after that whole big connection? Some people like to, of course, take a shower. Some people like to snuggle, sleep, go to bed, or some people like to eat. That's an easy way to sit there and talk about it as a meal.
Never thought about that.
Yes. Okay.
Never thought about that. Yeah, that is a good way. So now, we only have a few minutes, but you did mention your books. So tell us briefly about your books.
Okay, yes. My books is called Improving Intimacy. It's out there on Amazon. There's 5 books. The first one's about self, spirit, and spouse. The second one is about that whole self intimacy. The third is about greater expression of intimacy, all the different things between planting a garden, doing dishes together, taking a shower. The fourth one is about just sex. The fifth one that just came out is about intimacy in the workforce. And I'm not talking about having sex at your job. I'm not talking about that. I am talking about having true connections with your job, with your employer, with your coworker. And there's a couple of more books coming out.
Okay, that's wonderful. We did get a comment eh, from Sandy Barney Ennis. I don't know him like that. I don't know what that means. Okay, Sandy.
Yes, and all these things you need to do it at your pace, what you feel comfortable with, you
And
know?
how can, if people want to get in contact with you, how can they get in contact with you?
Yes, well, as you see it strolling there, draprilbrown.com is the best way to get in contact me. My phone number is on the website, and you can email me at info@draprilbrown.com. I would love to talk with anyone, and thank you so much for having me on the show.
And I thank you. And I know that my audience has gotten a lot of value out of this. Even you all out there that didn't want to put the comments in, only Sandy was brave enough to do that. But I appreciate all the questions and thank you so much. It really has been eye opening.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Dr. Janice. I appreciate it.
And you're in Florida, and you know I don't want to hear it.
Yes, and you're welcome to come down and visit.
As soon as we can get past the snow, I would love to.
Yes,
So you have a beautiful, blessed rest of your morning, afternoon. Well, you're in Florida, so your evening.
yes.
All righty.
Thank you.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.
Well, this has been really eye opening and really informational. And I know that you got a lot out of it. And for those out there, if you are having difficulties in your relationship, um, as far as intimacy is concerned or sex is concerned, reach out to Dr. April Brown. www.draprilbrown.com. So we'll see all of you again next Thursday on Relationship Matters. Remember, there are all kinds of relationships and there are all kinds of relationship matters. So I will see you again next Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Bye bye.